Okay, so it's our penultimate session today. We're going to do fundraising in community sport. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Obviously, we've been looking at professional sport a lot and kind of elite sport. Today, we're thinking a little bit more about kind of community sport and how finance and how sports organizations, particularly charitable organizations, would go about raising money to support their activities. I think I can do this. Yes. Okay, so our free learning objectives today. We're going to be looking at the importance of finance and business in contemporary sport, understanding the dichotomy between sport and business, and understand why good financial management is important to the viability of sport. And what we're going to do in terms of our structure for today's session, we're going to We're going to be doing about an hour and a half of this. Okay, I'm going to give you a break, and then we've got Esther coming in from the enterprise team, and she's going to do a separate session for you about raising funds, which is going to be a bit more of a workshop, a bit more interactive. Okay. So by the end of the session today, hopefully you'll be able to look at the advantages and disadvantages of different types of fundraising. We're going to have, you'll hopefully be able to understand some of the constraints that organizations face when fundraising, and then outline the potential ways organizations can improve their fundraising and engage donors. So what is fundraising? Well, it sounds pretty simple. It's a way of raising funds. There's probably two aspects to it that we need to be thinking about here. The first is actually how the organizations themselves generate resources. Okay, so the sports organizations themselves, but also how can sports events be used as fundraisers for other organizations? So is there maybe it's a charity which isn't related to sport, but they want to do a fund run. So you think about maybe cancer charities or alike that might organize sports events as a form of fundraiser. Okay, and the types of funds that we're going to be looking to raise funds for, they could be a real range. So some people might raise funds to develop facilities, so they might be looking to develop a new clubhouse. Others might be looking to raise funds for a particular project or a particular campaign. Maybe some want to just do something to support their general activities and their core costs. Okay, so there's a range of different things that these organizations are going to be doing. So let's have a look at the different types of giving that we might have, the types of fundraising that we might have. And throughout this, I'm going to kind of share some experiences. So I do quite a bit of fundraising with different organizations. So I'll just sort of be able to touch upon some experiences I've had with some of these. Our first one we'll look at will be individual giving. So that's when we're going out to people and asking them for donations. You can imagine trying to develop a kind of a supporter base, you know, trying to develop a network of people that would be willing to give us money either on a one-off basis or on a monthly basis, okay? Or it might be perhaps high net worth individuals. What do we mean by high net worth individuals, do you think?
VC? Venture capitalists?
Potentially venture capitalists, yeah, although venture capitalists probably be looking for something in return.
Yeah.
So, but yes, people that have a lot of money that would be happy to give it to us, yeah, for nothing in return, essentially. Okay, we'll look at events, so fun runs, dinners, charity matches. How do they raise funds for charities and sports organizations? Crowdfunding, so how do we go out to a kind of a network of people and ask them for contributions for particular projects? Merchandise sales, major gifts and capital campaigns, trust and foundations. We can have a look at that process of actually applying for funds, what's involved in that. Legacy giving, what do we think legacy giving is? You want to hazard a guess?
The legends of the game giving.
I like it. Not quite. It's when people pass away, they died, but perhaps they've left something in their will to the charity to say, when I die, I'm leaving this organization, you know, £1,000 or something. And then corporate giving, CSR. So we spoke a little bit about CSR last week when we looked at the triple bottom line. But how do organizations perhaps give something back? Perhaps the for-profit businesses, what do they want to do that perhaps give something back? They're not looking for a huge amount in return, but they want to do something to be kind of ethical or kind of community-minded organizations. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, individual giving. So as we say, this refers to perhaps individuals maybe on an emotional basis, loyalty or a belief in a cause, and they give kind of one-off donations. I'm sure everyone in this room has donated to a charity of some sort in the past. Anybody give on a monthly basis to any charities that they're particularly proud of or keen on? No, not yet. When you've got more money, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, so this would be something that you could imagine if you were out in the street, Stirling City Centre, and somebody came up to you and said, you know, we're raising funds for. I'm a sucker for dogs, so if anyone comes and asks me money for like to support dogs in some way, then I always give them some money. But it might be for a particular in a sports setting, it might be for a particular campaign. It might be a one-off donation they're looking for. They're asking for maybe £5 or £10 or £20 or £50 to do a particular project. Okay, so it might be they're looking to repair some floodlights at their club, or it might be youth kit that they're trying to raise funds for. Okay, so the example we've got here, local football club runs a pitch repair appeal after winter damage. So they're looking maybe for a couple of £1,000s to repair the pitch. Okay, they're looking for one-off donations to meet that cost. The next one would be our regular giving. Okay, so this would be where we're encouraging supporters to give a small amount each month. So it's not just a one-off, but hopefully they're going to sign up and they're going to give us maybe £5, £10 a month on an ongoing basis. Okay, and it could be like a friends at the club or a supporters club concept that might support a particular project. Okay, so some organisations will do this to support particular activities that they're running. And then we've got major donors of philanthropy. So this is where our high net worth individuals, people that have got a lot of money kicking about, they might contribute significant amounts to strategic initiatives. So perhaps wealthy alumni, if we're thinking about the university here, the university will be very conscious about the people that graduate from the university that go on and do very well in business. And then perhaps they phone them up in a few years' time and say, you know, have you got some money to help us build the new sports centre or something like that? So they maybe ask them for quite a large sum of money to help fund a particular project or a particular campaign. So that's our individual giving. And as I said, I wanted to share some examples. So this is a charity that I started in 2010. This is called Africa on the Ball, a charitable organisation that uses football for social development in Africa. And we were trying to get people to engage with the charity. So we were trying to create this idea of a supporters club where they might give us maybe £5 a month or £10 a month to support the charity's work in Zambia. So we developed this campaign.
What is a team? Please support us. Alone.
Every team needs supporters to power it.
People whose energy can inspire players to grow to their moment.
At Africa on the Ball, we help changing people's lives every week.
We know that people can contribute to gender
On and off the pitch.
And so we are looking for thousands of people to join us.
And be part of our team by signing up for a free Kalingalinga FC season ticket.
The season ticket gives you access to both our men's and women's teams.
Travel isn't included, but if you can make it to Zambia, you are assured of the warmest welcome you will find anywhere in the world.
By helping to fill the Africa on the Ball Stadium, you will be supporting us to fulfill our dreams.
Be part of our team. Be part of our team.
Okay, so that was quite a simple thing. We were just saying if you sign up to our supporters club, we'll essentially give you a season ticket. And the season ticket doesn't really mean much because we don't charge for the matches, but if they could ever make it to Zambia, they were able to go and watch any of the teams that they were playing, and they get a kind of a warm welcome. And that was just a way for us to try and engage them in what we were doing. We were only actually really asking for their email address at that point, with the idea that we could perhaps get them to start contributing to what we were doing once we could engage with them via perhaps a monthly newsletter or something. Okay. Oh, that's not right. Nope. Okay. So the next thing to think about here is events-based fundraising. So that was our individual giving where we're going out to individuals, but perhaps we're running events that are trying to raise funds for the organization. Events, very popular, can range from kind of small local activities to large annual galas. Okay, so you think about charity matches. Does anybody ever watch, come across Soccer Aid before?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so getting celebrities to come and play football and they sell the tickets at, I think it's Old Trafford, they've done it before. Exhibition games, perhaps where you've got ex-players that are raising funds for a charity. Okay, and it could be a Legends versus Fans game where fans have to pay for a spot on the team to play against former players. It could be raising funds for disability sport. It might be something like a gala dinner where you're perhaps organising some speakers to come along and share their experiences. And they're going to perhaps sell the tickets to individuals, and they might be kind of a raffle where people can win prizes. They pay for a ticket and they might win some prizes. Example might be a rugby club's annual dinner, including a silent auction where they're perhaps bidding on different special items, or a raffle for some club equipment. Then we've got fun runs as well. So we have the 5K on campus every Saturday morning, the park run. Okay, so it could be something like that where people are just participating and going for a run. They maybe they pay for the entry or they do some fundraising as a part of that, and they're trying to raise some money. So again, this is an example top right. Africa on the Ball this summer are doing a golf day where students can come and play golf. Sorry, anyone can come and play golf, but this was a particular deal for students. And a way for the charity to raise some money by doing, something different from football, but using golf as a way to perhaps engage a different audience or a different network of people. So again, I'll just quickly share this video. Okay, so again, just a quick overview of what the charity does, but then we also used events as a way to raise funds for the charity quite regularly. So we would, at the start, we would do kind of six-a-side tournaments here at the university where we get students and staff to come and put teams together, and they would maybe have to pay an entry fee towards the tournament. The university would often give us the pitch for free, so we didn't have to pay for any facility costs, and we would probably raise sort of £300, £400, £500 maybe, just from the team entries. The supporters club, I mentioned that we had the kind of supporters club where people would give, they do give money to support the charity on a monthly basis. Grant funding I'm going to come to, and then Glasgow on the Ball. So we set up a club as a way to raise funds on an ongoing basis. So we thought, how could we raise awareness of the charity and what they're doing here in Scotland? So we set up Glasgow on the Ball, which is a football club that has different teams. So there's two amateur teams, a 35s team and an over 40s team that play in different leagues, and those members will pay a fee to play in that team. But anything that's left over at the end of the season is donated to the charity, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a charitable organisation, essentially social enterprise. So yeah, as I say, Glasgow on the Ball Club set up on the kind of basis that it would raise funds for charitable activity in different areas. So the idea was that people would come, they would pay money, they pay £5 perhaps to play each match. But then we realised that actually some people wouldn't turn up and pay, and you'd have issues with all the cash, and you wouldn't know what to do with the cash because no one takes cash anymore. So we moved to direct debit, so people would just pay on a monthly basis to be a member of the team. We'd have merchandise and some fundraising events, and it was great because it helped raise awareness of the charity's work. Because people asked what Africa on the Ball was when they played Glasgow on the Ball, and it helped raise money for the charity as well. So it raised awareness and it raised money for the charity. I've said potentially because you can imagine if you had perhaps a year where numbers dropped off and people didn't want to play for whatever reason, if you didn't have enough money to meet your costs, so you couldn't pay for the pitch hire, or perhaps you couldn't pay for the referees or the strips, then actually you would end out of pocket. So you have to try and be quite clever about trying to generate enough money that you could run the team sustainably, because you could only make money for the charity if the team was making money, if that makes sense. So a bit like when we were talking about Glasgow on the Ball in your assignments. Okay, crowdfunding. You'll probably be familiar with crowdfunding. Has anyone donated to a crowdfunder before? Are you aware of crowdfunding as a concept? Yeah? Anyone ever donated to anything before? Yeah? What did you donate to?
A friend of mine, so he had a tournament, international tournament, amateur MMA.
MMA, okay, yeah.
So we had to do the crowdfunding for him.
Okay, to put the event on.
Yeah, just for him to participate.
Oh, for him to participate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
we did a crowdfunding.
Nice. And did he make the money?
Yeah, he made the money and he won a silver and a bronze as well.
Oh, great. Okay, so it was worth it.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so yeah, as you know, you'll be reaching out to a group of people, perhaps online, and trying to get them to donate to a particular project or a target. And you've got different types of things here. So we've got a rewards-based crowdfunder. Okay, so a rewards base is somebody gives you some money and you give them something in return. So sometimes you'll see musicians that are looking to raise money for to record an album, and if you give them money, then you'll get a copy of the album signed or something as a kind of reward for donating. But if you imagine this in a sports setting, it could be something like a hockey club offering free training sessions, or perhaps some branded merchandise to anybody that donates to them. And then we've got community shares here. Okay, so community shares, supporters buying shares in a club used by supporters trusts, and it might be something like their club needs some money, and the fans have come together to try and buy the club via community shares. Okay, I think I've got some stuff on crowdfunding. Okay, so I go back to Glasgow on the Ball. This was a quick example of something that we did during lockdown. Okay, so during lockdown, almost 5 years ago today, COVID struck, and lots of different activity not very much activity was happening at all, if you remember. But in Zambia, there was a lot of issues around sanitation and getting access to sanitation and kind of health products. So we tried, and the football club, we obviously couldn't play any matches, so we were all sort of kicking around Glasgow and not sure what to do with all our days. So we had the idea that we would run the equivalent distance of Glasgow to Kalingalinga in Zambia to raise the money, which was 8,500 kilometers, and we were trying to raise £8,500. And I think show you we did the crowdfunder. I think we made the total, so just have a look here. So we raised £8,500. So actually, sorry, we raised £7,500, but we had gift aid, so we could claim an extra 25p for every pound. So that was worth £1,238. So we raised the funds, but we also offered different rewards. So we had beanie hats, or kind of like the fair trade hats that had the logo of the charity on them. There was stickers and badges. You could get a travel mug. There was a shirt you could get. Different rewards basically if you donated a certain amount of money towards the charity. If you paid 1,500, you could sponsor the club, for example. So different perks. Okay, so crowdfunding, some pros and cons. One of the good things about crowdfunding is you don't need to repay the money, so you're essentially getting a donation from somebody. The funds often come from many different investors as well, so you're kind of spreading the cost across quite a lot of people. Allows you to build a bit of a customer base as well. You don't need to do any credit check on the individuals or the organisation. You can take money from non-accredited and accredited investors. You don't need to raise savings to repay anything, or you don't have to pay any interest. Okay. Some of the negatives, depending on the type of idea you've got, is the fees could be quite steep. So if you were using a platform like Crowdfunder, they might take a percentage of the fees themselves. If you were trying to develop an idea or a concept, somebody might steal your idea if you put it up early. So there's pros and cons to using fundraising as a way of raising funds. Okay, I think we've also spoken about community shares potentially, but this is a type of crowdfunding with a difference. So community shares are a way that particular types of organizations can raise funds that hasn't got the kind of scrutiny that you would have if you were doing some of the other types of funding we were looking at a few weeks ago. So, hello. Hi. Sorry. It's okay. So community shares, a way of raising funds for particular types of projects. It's often about raising funds for perhaps buying a club or a particular project. So again, let me just share this video with you.
Like any organisation, football clubs need finance to grow. The problem is clubs are limited in their regular finance options. Relying on loans from wealthy individuals can put the club at risk, whereas selling shares on a one-share, one-vote basis can change the identity of a club forever. So, what are the funding options? At SD Club Development, we believe it starts with a club's community. Community shares provide an effective way for a club to raise money without the red tape or regulation, and they can even help clubs unlock further grant funding opportunities. Community shares give people a chance to invest, to buy shares and become part owners of their club, strengthening their connection with it. With investor tax incentives, annual interest payments, and the potential of clubs paying their investors back in the future, there are lots of ways that they make sense. Above all, it allows clubs to realise their ambition in a sustainable way. A win-win? We think so. Working with clubs across the UK, we found there are two ways community shares can help. One, they're a great way of raising money for valuable facilities, such as a clubhouse, a better stand or floodlights. Two, they can enable supporters to buy their club together and run it for the benefit of the whole community. Interested? We're here to provide subsidised expertise. Just visit www.clubdevelopment.coop to find out more.
Okay, so community shares, as we say, is a way of raising funds for perhaps not charitable bodies, but non-profit sports organisations. Okay, so particular types of organisations can offer community shares, called community benefit societies. Okay, They're very different to the types of shares that you might buy in the likes of Manchester United or Celtic or any of the other clubs, okay? Because they aren't necessarily about getting a financial return, although you can get some financial benefit from them. But they can't be transferred to anyone. They're not subject to the same sort of high expectations from shareholders. There's a one vote, one member system in place, so it's a cooperative, democratic type of organisation. Okay, rather than if you bought loads of shares, then you could have a better say in how the club ran. Everyone runs it on an equal basis. Everyone has an equal say in how that club is run. Okay, and you can get different types of tax relief on investing on them as well. So some disadvantages of community shares. As I say, it's only possible for community benefit societies to be able to offer community shares. If you wanted to do a community share offer, you probably need to change the structure of the organisation in some way. Return on people's investments isn't a key priority. So you might invest and there might be an offer that says we're going to give you 5% interest on your investment every year. But actually, that's not always the priority. The priority is more about the community, the activity itself happening. So it's perhaps a secondary thought. So it's not maybe something to think about if you were really keen to get your guaranteed interest on the money that you donated or gave. You've got to be open to the idea of running it democratically. So having that idea that one member, one vote, and everyone has an equal say. Offering community shares may be more difficult for organisations without strong links to the local communities. So you need to be kind of embedded within the community. And for some grant programs, a community share model might make your organisation unable to attract grant funding because there's a share capital, which some don't fund. So I said I would share some experiences, and I've obviously brought this football, and you're probably all thinking, why have I brought a football? So this organisation, Bala Sport, they are a fair trade organisation. So they basically were unhappy with the way that footballs were being produced by the likes of Adidas and Nike and Puma and Mitre, for example. And they wanted to try and create a more fair way of producing footballs, but also creating something that looked nice and actually worked quite well. So they decided to start a community benefit society and do a community share offer to raise the funds that they needed to start developing these footballs.
I'm Annie Howie.
And I'm Angus Cool, and we're the joint managing directors of Bala Sport.
Football's lost its way. It's time to make a change.
That's why we set up Bala Sport, but we need your help to help shake things up. Football unites the world. It brings people together, but all too often it ignores the workers who actually make the ball. Bala Sport was set up to change the game. We are all about fairness and respect for the skilled men and women who work hard to craft that vital piece of kit. Through fair trade, Bala Sport ensures there's no child labour, it guarantees a fair wage and safe working conditions, and access to union representation. Plus, we pay an extra 10% premium, which workers invest democratically in providing things like education and healthcare for their families. We've been to the factories, we've seen the difference this premium makes.
These people are out and they're hand stitching these balls. They're taking 3 hours to take their time on a real quality product, and they're getting the price they deserve for making the ball. So when you buy one of these balls, not only are you giving the person a fair wage who's making it, but you're also giving them access to education, healthcare, and access to a clean water supply, which gives you a feel good when you purchase one of these balls.
We've got a quality product that we're proud of. Our balls are made and tested to the same standards and specifications as FIFA-approved balls, so they're every bit as good as the big brands.
As soon as we heard about Bala balls, we knew that's the ball that we wanted to play in this game. If we had the opportunity to use Bala balls and fair trade balls in the rest of our games, then we would use them. Every opportunity we get, we will be playing with Bala fair trade balls.
I was really surprised at how well they've developed over the last few years. The old fair trade footballs used to be a little bit plasticky and hard to play with, but these actually do have a really nice feel to them. These are actually now matching the quality footballs that are out there in the wider markets.
Bala Sport is structured as a cooperative business. By investing as little as £50, you will have a say in how the company is run. Reaching our target of £150,000 will enable us to expand our range quickly and quadruple sales of fair trade balls in the UK by year 5, making a huge difference to the workers' lives in Pakistan.
I'm an investor in Bala Sports. I think football in particular enjoys great support in our country, and fair play is a critical part of football for many.
Okay, I won't share the rest of it, but essentially I'm going to pass this around if you want to have a look. So I went out to Pakistan where they make them in Sialkot. This one is flat, so it doesn't feel like a proper ball, but you can have a feel of what it looks like. And they made different types of product, essentially. But they ran a community share offer to raise the money. They were looking for 150,000. We raised 100,000, so that was enough to crack on. However, we found out that actually the football market is very hard to crack, and Puma and Adidas and Nike and Mitre have lots and lots of money, and they can produce footballs because they're not paying their staff kind of fair wage. They can produce their footballs a lot cheaper. So when it came to purchasing decisions, you're asking people to choose between a more expensive product, which ethically is perhaps better, but actually a recognised brand that all the teams in the Premier League are playing with, and it's going to be cheaper. So perhaps you can understand why consumers wouldn't choose to go for it. But it merged with another company in 2021, and they're still making the fair trade football. So it's just perhaps a tough market to crack in some respects. Okay, so at merchandise-based fundraising as well. So again, selling items with the club's branding or something to try and generate some additional funds. You might sell some limited edition retro kits or scarves to raise some extra money for a new clubhouse or something like that. And that was some Africa on the ball, Glasgow on the ball kit we sold. Grants. This is probably a big opportunity for many charitable bodies. So this is when you're going and applying to different types of organizations and saying, we need some money to deliver a particular project or to continue operating our organization. Again, I've chosen a little picture here from Africa on the Ball. So it was 5 years ago yesterday, we got some money from the Scottish government to develop a program in Zambia to build the charity and its work. Okay. So going to different grant funders and applying to them to say what it is that you're looking to do, and trying to raise some funds that way. Okay, what I would have done here is gone into a little bit about actually applying for grants and how you can apply for grants, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to skip ahead because we've got Esther coming in. Finish off our types of fundraising. Okay, so we've got legacy giving, which is when we're going to people and asking them to perhaps leave us something before they die. So encouraging supporters to leave money to a sports organisation in their will. Okay, so it might be a particular club that's close to their hearts that you're asking them to donate towards. Corporate giving, CSR, so this is businesses perhaps putting some money in as part of their CSR that we mentioned last week. So example, it could be a local bank sponsoring a girls' football tournament, or perhaps a company donates equipment in return for some promotion of some sort. And then perhaps our membership subscription model. So that's when we are talking about people actually just paying to support an organisation, and they might get some benefits tied to that as well. So perhaps a say in the AGM or something like that. A couple of other things here. So sources of voluntary income. So yeah, we've mentioned some of these already. It could be something like they run a lottery where people pay to play in a lottery, but the proceeds or the profits go to the club. Could be payroll giving, where employees are perhaps just giving money to their organisation. It's coming straight out of their salary. And we've got kind of contracts and tenders as well. So perhaps the organisations are delivering services on behalf of the local council. Perhaps they're setting up social enterprises of their own. Maybe they've got like a bar that they're raising funds from. Okay. Perhaps they've got enough money in the bank that they're getting some interest from it, which is always a nice idea. Perhaps they've got a shop. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is work in a couple of different groups. So thank you very much. What do you think? Would you play with that? Thank you. I mean, it's a bit flat, so it might not be a very good game, but yeah. So what I want you to do is have a little think. If you go to Canvas, there's the first activity, And I think what we'll do is, yeah, so there's a fundraising template there. I don't know how you want to split it up, but if you could work in groups, essentially, maybe 2 or 3 different groups, okay, and develop a fundraising strategy for an organization that's listed. So there's a choice of organizations to choose from. There's some templates. Have a go at fulfilling in the template, and based on what we've spoken about there, the different types of fundraising, okay? And then you're going to present them to the rest of the class. Do you just not like everyone else? You just...
Okay.
Yeah, increase the what happened?
Sounds weird.
So pick one of the organizations listed. Which one are your group going to go for, do you think? Sterling Albion. Okay. And which one are you guys going to go for, do you think? There's a list of different clubs on there. I'll give you a bit of time to, yeah. Okay.
Oh, you are pronouncing in Arabic.
No, because hold on. You mean lech for the leg? You call it lach. No, lach. Lachness. Yes, lech is the lach. Yeah. Same as Arabic word. Nah, exactly.
Bro, which clubs should we choose?
Bro, listen to me, bro, please. Please, just one. One thing in life, listen to me. Okay. I don't know.
You want me to listen to your idol? Huh?
Okay. About Glasgow. Glasgow, no. Basketball? Yeah, basketball player. basketball, basketball. You have basketball players.
All is okay.
What?
Anything is okay. Any club is okay.
No, it's just that.
You want to do basketball?
You into basketball or football?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So,
we just only one.
Yeah.
Have a hay need there. He's asking about badminton.
Let's see for it.
Badminton. What the fuck?
I don't know. What do you think?
Bro, you are.
Okay.
I don't know why do you like Glasgow so much. This may cross
Technical issues. Guys, push glove. What? 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 Bro. What is that? Bro, maybe it's still linked.
I think we can go for wheelchair. I think we can go for wheelchair and Glasgow.
No. I told you, bro, first.
I don't care, bro.
Okay. I told you.
Yeah. So which one should we? Bro, this game is seriously P2P.
What is it? You have background about this stuff, right?
I'm not right now.
So, what did he ask us right now about what we should do? I don't know. So, but let's see here. Here, hopefully they can
They don't recommend.
You can use. We said.
Types of fundraising.
Then you have to replay it. Replace it. Oh, yarhamukallah in Arabic. And then I have to replay it.
Do I reply back again?
You reply me when I said Alhamdulillah, and then you reply me Alhamdulillah. Then I will.
And after that again?
Yeah, not for me. You. Yeah.
No, we should continue. Alhamdulillah.
This one's so. So, okay. Just something. Read some more, yeah.
Bro, what are the different types of fundraising strategy?
Yes.
What is this? This is not.
Yeah, which Jima?
It is on 13.
Yeah.
Party.
8.
Party.
Food. No, don't have that. Oh, just like having this speech. Someone stand in front of us. After that party, just food. No dancing. No dancing. Yeah. No dancing. I can show you. So, let's create a strategy for their flow. That's true. Let's find a strategy for that flow.
Which one? Which one? Never idea.
Okay. Which organisation do we go for?
We are going for Scottish Women in Sports.
Scottish Women in Sports. Like it. Okay. And this group over here? Nice. Okay.
Eric, give me one good charity name.
Clear on what you're doing?
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure? You don't seem that sure.
Well, I'm sure.
You're sure?
One charity name, bro.
Ah, okay. It is here like for example.
Captain.
I don't know about.
Just say something.
He's already done this.
I could say
Yesterday itself, you already done it.
like British
No,
or cancer. Soon, inshallah. There are also
Always come to find it.
Right, sure.
Don't talk. You mentioned about that club. Come on. United Stotek Club. It's a fundraising strategy. Bro, this thing I have to write it here.
What did you write?
मेरे और सारे पैसे हाँ ये ChatGPT है नहीं ये बता दे किटी ले
Cavity, bro.
What I
It's
said.
called
How many years will it take?
cancer or wait a minute. Which is something like this.
For the strategy.
No, bro, we need to come up with our own name.
What do you program the KBC relying on someone who's with? What's the difference in those with that?
United we stand.
We stand.
Bro, this is inclusiveness. So we need to include all the ladies.
Yeah, that's around my daughter.
See, I'm going to do this. So, we're going to go before that.
Okay, wait, the first you have to start it. You're going to create like a brief about that law. So
Yeah. You can't. So good, man.
അങ്ങനെയാണോ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ടെംപ്ലേറ്റ് തന്നെയാണ്.
You don't want to do this, he went out. I know him.
He makes some
Excuse. Yeah. And he will come back and say, "Oh, is it not over?"
Oh, wasn't it?
Brian तेरे को मारेगा भाई.
ക്ഷീണമുണ്ടെന്നും പറഞ്ഞ് രണ്ടും കൂടെ ഒന്നിച്ചാണ് പോകുന്നത്. എന്താ ഒരു ബുക്കും പേനയും കൂടി എങ്ങനെ
അതിലും ലാസ്റ്റ് ബസ് ഓടി വന്നു ചായ ചായ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു ചായ വെച്ചു
These are some
ഇവ പറ്റത്തില്ല വെക്കാത്ത വെച്ചവൻ പറയുന്നത് നീ പറഞ്ഞ് മനസ്സിലായി നീ പൊക്കോ ഞാനില്ല ചെയ്തോളാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാൻ കുളിക്കാൻ കയറി. ഞാൻ തിരിച്ചു നോക്കുമ്പോ പാത്രത്തിൽ ഞാൻ തിരിച്ചു നോക്കുമ്പോ പാത്രത്തിൽ പാല് മാത്രമില്ല, താഴെ മൊത്തം പാലുണ്ട്.
വാതില് ക്ലോസ് ആണ്. ഞാനിതും ഭക്ഷണം
ഇവിടെ അറിയുന്നില്ല. ഇവിടെ അടുക്കള വാൽ അടച്ചിട്ട് ഹോളിൽ പോയിരുന്നു.
Brian
സാധനം താഴെ ഇന്നലെ വാങ്ങിയത്
Oh, Yao Ming. Yao Ming, yeah. For this one, we have to come up with our own name.
Okay, thank you.
I got it.
Women's sport. Women's
Women's sport. So I
Women.
think football.
Women.
We are doing this one. Choose one. Yeah, we are choosing this one. So think of an idea. Bro, हम Scottish women in sports कर रहे हैं. तो कुछ idea बता. Charity कैसे? Fun कैसे raise करना?
ബ്രെഡ് വേണം ബ്രെഡ് ബ്രെഡ് ഉണ്ട് പറഞ്ഞെടുത്ത്
Boo sisters. Boo sisters. Boo sisters. Boo. M-O-B. Oh, no sisters. Tell me one name.
How we doing?
Still trying to figure out the proper charity.
Okay.
Number 3.
Okay.
These are just tentative names. We haven't finalized it yet.
Okay.
So I don't think
So maybe we should move to the fundraising.
Yeah, so we have decided that we're going to host a football event where other professional or ex-retired players, celebrities, be it men or women, are participating in it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I think that will be a good promotion to like pull the crowdedness when the celebrities like ex-professionals
Nice.
or professionals are there.
Yep, sounds good.
So yeah, that's the event we are going for right now.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay.
ഗ്രാൻഡ്സ് കൊണ്ടിട്ട് ഗ്രാൻഡ്സ്
And how we doing over here?
So it says gender inclusive.
Okay.
So we can take 2, right? We can't put sister or
crowdfunding also like by organizing
because
charity
this
matches.
become
cool.
very specific to girls only.
Sounds good.
You have to be like gender.
Like it to be with everything, so it's kind of like
Gender equality.
gender equality.
Okay, I'll give you 5 more minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then you'll present them. I'll give you a quick break before Esther joins us. Yeah, someone you're going to present them. We're going to do lots of presenting next semester. You know.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one? Which
Marketing and management challenges. You have to do a group presentation. And you get marked on it.
Group presentation is fine.
You have to be fair for that.
I think you also do you need to present on your professional practice as well?
Yeah, sometime we do.
Later on.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting you ready. I'm priming you for your. You should be thanking me. You had any more football matches lately at the park?
No.
No? Too busy?
Yeah. Working too hard.
Oh, it's organized now. It's funny.
Which
ഇൻട്രൊഡക്ഷൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അങ്ങനെ ഏറ്റവും ലിറ്ററേച്ചർ നിങ്ങൾ അവിടെയാണ് ഹെഡിങ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് മേലോട്ട് വിഷയം അറുപത്തെട്ടായി 2 മണിക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല 80
Wow.
ഞങ്ങൾ നടന്നു വന്നപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് സംസാരിച്ചു പെട്ടെന്ന് ഒരാൾ ഞാൻ ഓർത്തുണ്ട് അയ്യോ പെട്ട് പുള്ളി എങ്ങനെയത് മനസ്സിലാക്കി പറ്റി ആലോചിച്ചിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ഞാൻ ഓർക്കാട് വെച്ച് ലാസ്റ്റ് പേ ചെയ്തപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ട്രെയിൻ ലൈനിൽ എൻ്റെ പൗണ്ട് മാറി $US ആയി കിടക്കുക അതുകൊണ്ട് അങ്ങനെ ഇന്ത്യ SBI ആണ് പക്ഷെ മെയിൻ ട്രാൻസാക്ഷൻ മണി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് $US ആവും ഫോറക്സ് വഴി അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് അത് $US എമൗണ്ട് നീ എടുക്കുന്നു ഇന്ത്യയിലാണ് ഇത് റെയിൽ കാർഡ് പോലും ആ റെയിൽ കാർഡ് ഉണ്ട് പക്ഷെ റെയിൽ കാർഡ് നോക്കി ഇവിടെ ഒരു 5:30 കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള ട്രെയിൻ നേരെ ഗ്ലാസ്ഗോ ക്യൂൻ സ്ട്രീറ്റ് 6:10 ഇവിടെ നടക്കും കാല്
Now it is time for you to present. Yeah, you've been running away. Now it was like this. Yeah, preparing. So you present. Bro, I left at the perfect time. I got my
നടന്നു ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ
We can do a movie night also.
I will do that. Event.
जो fundraising है ना उससे मूवी नाइट कर सकते हैं वो भी
you were like suggesting movie night as for people in general.
नहीं इससे fundraising है ना उसका Scottish women's football का तो
This is not Scottish women's football. We're doing Scottish women's in sports.
Not Sterling Albion.
No.
Scottish women's sports हाँ
तो they are a specific organization तो उनका उधर लिखा हुआ है क्या
अच्छा women's sports
so they want inclusiveness and gender equality.
Okay, ready to present? Who's going to go first?
Stop it.
I think they might be going first.
They go first? Excellent, great. Who is presenting from? 1 minute?
Yes.
It's the final countdown.
Like, do we need to fill in every details that's mentioned in the template?
No, it doesn't have to be complete. Just the kind of key fundraising strategy and what's the kind of rationale for it.
Doesn't have to be like 5-10 minutes long, right?
No.
Only 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good tune, man.
Yeah. You
Following up लड़कियों का स्पोर्ट्स में मैंने दिन स्टार्ट कर क्यों पसंद है क्या पसंद है क्या मैंने तो चल रही जॉब करने के लिए क्यों देंगे खेलने वाले हैं इंटरनेशनल का मैच है ना भी स्कॉटलैंड और कहीं भी मिला तो कर लेंगे।
We have already written this is done by Tapur.
Scotland
reference.
Scotland under 19.
What is it?
No, you present. So you want to go with presentation? You and Brian go with presentation. You want to go with presentation? What? I can read that for you.
നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ടച്ച് കിട്ടും നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്ത് അല്ലേ
Okay, who's ready? Yes, you're going to go. Congratulations. You win a prize.
Yes. So we're gonna do.
Oh, sorry. All right, guys, let's listen up. Do you want to stand up and present? Yeah, that'd be great.
So I haven't written down anything.
Yeah, that's okay.
You want to So we're going to do a charity football match regarding the.
Tell us about the organisation first.
Yeah. Scottish Women in Sports.
Okay.
So I think they're basically more about gender equality and inclusiveness in Scottish sports. So the charity we're going to do is just to promote like gender equality and to raise some funds to sponsor any kids and women and include everyone there.
Okay.
So we're going to plan a football event. So we're going to invite some bunch of celebrities, ex-professionals, be it man or woman. So they kind of attract a lot of attention and they kind of pull the crowd in as well.
Okay.
So hopefully we're going to plan this in the next 4 months so that we got enough time to like advertise it, promote it, and all those things. Yeah, I think that's basically it that we're going to plan.
Okay, so a large one-off event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to raise money through.
We're going to raise money through ticket sales, merchandise promotion maybe, and yeah, I think that's basically that. If you guys any input. on how to raise other than merchandise and ticket selling. And we can ask for donations from like celebrity if they're willing to do.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we can just to keep the crowd exciting, we can have a halftime songs or something, maybe music event or something,
Okay.
like the way the Sidemen did recently.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the plan. That's the idea that I took from the Sidemen charity event only.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Gators wheelchair. Richard, come on up.
Realize that to come up with something. I didn't think it through.
Okay, our strategy is
Tell us about the organisation.
Okay, we're Glasgow Rattlers Wheelchair Rugby Club, and our strategy is legacy giving and events. And our summary is fundraising strategy to secure sustainable funding streams for Glasgow Rattlers Wheelchair Rugby Union, supporting club expansion, accessibility programs, and acquisition of specialized equipment. Our key components, like I already mentioned, include legacy giving, and we'll also conduct charity matches.
Okay, so legacy giving. So you're going to try and target people that are going to be fairly. What kind of age category do you think these individuals that you're going to be trying to reach are?
60 and above.
Okay. Yeah.
Because those are I want to see people that are most likely going to like pass their will or have wills in mind at that point. So we'll be reaching out to like elderly, wealthy people in society. And our context is, or our main objectives include promoting diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
And expanding our programs to reach like other, like less privileged communities.
Okay.
Our vision is to become a wheelchair rugby team, aiming to expand its accessibility programs and purchase specialized equipment. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, nice. Thank you very much. All right, excellent. Okay, so take a 6-minute break. Use the toilet if you need to. Grab a quick drink, and we'll. Esther will be. Well, I say 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So be back here for 34 minutes past, please. Yep. For our session with Esther.
Where's the break? Where's the break?
So much.
Yeah.
I will send you one.
Shit, brilliant.
Have you finished your picture on WhatsApp?
The assignments?
On WhatsApp,
You started or not?
you sent your picture image. It's beautiful.
Have you related preference? Oh, yes, bro.
Yesterday I was supposed to start, but I was occupied doing something else.
No, bro. We still have the last assignment.
Yeah. Glory enter.
Yeah. Hey, but how you made this?
Bro, I know this. Is mine?
Hazard also, right?
Miles, 0.7 miles. ഞാൻ അവിടെ പോയിട്ട് ഒരു P45 എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഫോം മേടിച്ചിട്ട് അഡ്രസ് കൊണ്ടുപോയി കൊടുക്കും. ബസ്സിൽ
यहाँ से बटिन 3 जगह का रास्ता है वहाँ पे घर से आना वो बटिन से
ബസ്സിന് പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാനത്
Are we coming back? Well, you said 10 minutes, maybe we have
അവിടെ സാധനം കൊടുത്ത് ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പോവാം.
Relegated to the back.
Yeah. Doesn't it? Okay, it's a lecture hall and everyone sits on the back row.
No, that's a bit close, yeah.
Do you want to? Should we try that? Well, we didn't have a lot of success last time, did we? But
Yes.
should we give it a go? Try it out. How have you been anyway?
Yeah. Busy with competitions and such.
Okay, that's good.
We're about to launch yet another one, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was actually going to get in touch because Caitlin and I did like a Dragon's Den thing with the students last week.
Oh, okay.
So they had, not this group, the other cohort that you met.
Yes.
And they had 6 hours to produce like a marketing campaign for a product. And then Caitlin and I like judged it at the end, but I think when we do it for this cohort, it'd be great to have some other people come in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It wouldn't be long, it'd probably be like
Yeah. Their pitches cool.
they were okay, I think. They were okay. Not great. No, they were okay. They were okay. They were okay. No, so some of them, like, there was really good things about each of them. So the second one, the branding was like spot on, and it looked really slick, and they come up with their own font and their own, brand theme, etc. But the product itself was found holes in it. Whereas the third group, they had a really good product, but it didn't look as nice. And the financials were a bit messy. So
I've got it on a USB as well, so maybe we can try.
Yeah.
On that one. I don't know what is happening there.
അങ്ങോട്ടേക്ക് 6.5 കൊണ്ടെന്തോ 36.
Oh, you got it there.
How many do you have in this class?
There's usually 13. I think I got a couple short.
Will this work? If I select no.
Things never work the way they do.
ലിങ്ക് ഫേസ്ബുക്ക് തുറക്കാൻ പറ്റും, ട്വിറ്റർ തുറക്കാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല, ഒരു രക്ഷയില്ല. പിന്നെ നെഗറ്റീവ് ആണ്, ഇത്ര വെറുപ്പുണ്ടാവുന്നതാണ്.
മനസ്സിലായിട്ടാണ് നീ നോക്കണം. മനസ്സിലായിട്ടൊന്നുമില്ല, ഞാനിപ്പോ എടുത്ത് കുടിക്കാൻ പോയത്. ഒരു മിനിറ്റ് സിറ്റി ലിങ്ക് ആണ് നിങ്ങൾ സിറ്റി ലിങ്ക് എടുത്തേ ഡൗൺലോഡ് ചെയ്യും സിറ്റി ലിങ്ക് ഫ്ലിക്സ് നോക്കിയാലോ ഫ്ലിക്സ് നോക്കണമെങ്കിൽ അവിടെ വരെ പോകണം ആൻഡ്രോയിഡ് ചോദിച്ചാലോ ക്ലൗഡിലോട്ടാണോ നിന്നെടുത്ത് നിന്റെ എടുത്ത്
I don't know why it does that. You'd like to think that in education they found a way where
Yeah, I don't know if you did do it for the
well,
books, would it?
let's see if,
Yeah,
if that
try
one
again.
works this time around. Did you think that no lecturer ever needs the notes?
I don't know.
അത് വേറെ അത് വെള്ളവണ്ടി ഇത് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് പോകാനുള്ള ബസ് വലിയ ബസ് ഉണ്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിലോട്ട് പോകാൻ ഞാനതുകൊണ്ടാ വൺ സൈഡ് ഇതിട്ട് വന്നത് ഞാൻ ഇതുവരെ നോക്കിയിട്ടില്ല യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റി ബസ്സുണ്ട് വലിയ ബസ്സാണ് ടൂറിസ്റ്റ് ബസ് വരെ
I think now it's swapped back to this one.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I
Try
thought it
the
was yours.
bring your own device. Yeah, it worked on the first session.
Yeah.
It didn't work on the next one.
രണ്ടര മണിക്കൂറാ എനിക്കും എനിക്ക് കിട്ടാൻ കാണിക്കുന്നത് വൺ സൈഡ്
I
ആയിരിക്കും
didn't think that has to do with my notes either, so I might just have to use both. It's so annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think surely there's a way to.
എട്ടെടുത്തേച്ച് ഇതെടുത്തിട്ട് 28 രൂപ അതിന് ബസ് ഡ്രൈവർ സമ്മതിക്കണ്ടേ എന്നിട്ട് എനിക്ക് നമ്മുടെ ബുക്ക് ചെയ്തല്ലേ പോകുന്നത് 12:40 എടാ 2 ഡേറ്റും 27 ഇടുക എന്നിട്ട് സെർച്ച് ചെയ്യുക അപ്പൊ 8 പൗണ്ട് വരുള്ളൂ 8 പൗണ്ട് എടുത്തിട്ട് റിട്ടേൺ ടിക്കറ്റ് എടുക്കുമ്പോ മേളില് ഡേറ്റ് 28 ഇടുക 12:40 വെളുപ്പിനത്തെ ബസ് എടുക്കുക 8 പൗണ്ട് വരുള്ളൂ 8 പൗണ്ട് വരത്തുള്ളൂ ചെക്കൗട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും ചെക്കൗട്ട് ഞാൻ അവിടെ ടിക്കറ്റ് എടുത്താണോ
No, because it had the same issue. Yeah, but the wireless one, it just shares your screen, but it doesn't share the it doesn't actually share the
Right.
notes again.
Okay.
So many screens.
I know. So much too many, unfortunately. Oh, this one's working again.
Was it not working
when you
earlier?
reset it, maybe that's what happened.
Maybe. But sure, is it? I think these big ones might be touch screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the touch screen was working, but there wasn't anything on it.
So you never know.
Yeah. Some of them just
Yeah, that's fine.
But no, this will be good. It's good because it's getting them. So they've just done about like funding.
Mm. Yeah.
So do you have everything? You have everything you need?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll just see if they need some help with their assignments. Assignments due next week? Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Working on it.
Not finished it yet?
No.
You finished?
No, not
Finished
finished.
yet? Okay. But you feel confident?
Yeah. Can do.
Yeah? Good. Okay. Any other questions or anything you've got about it?
As of now, no.
As of now, no. Okay. Well, that's all good. So what's the new competition you're launching?
Well, you'll hear about it at the end.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Each year we do a kind of like pre-accelerator program. So we have a 6-week boot camp for anyone who has an idea that they want to actually pursue. And this year we're also doing some funding for it.
Okay.
Out of the successful applicants, depending on how many we have, people can also win up to £2,000 to help them go through the program, but also test the idea as they go through the program and potentially then take it forward. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, you'll hear about it at the end and
Yeah,
receive
yeah.
an email shortly with
Yeah, yeah. Is it master students as well?
Yeah, any students, undergraduate, postgrad.
Great.
PGR as well as graduates and staff.
Nice.
So,
Oh, okay.
For the funding, because of the funding body, it can also only go to students or
Yeah.
graduates.
Right.
But the program itself is also open to staff members.
Okay. That's cool.
For the training.
And it's online or it's in person?
It's a combination. So we do the workshops online, and then we have peer-to-peer sessions and mentoring sessions in person.
That sounds good.
So the intention of it is for people to set up the business in the UK.
Yes.
For that they need to be in the UK. Although for students, obviously, you never know when they might set it up. But
Yeah.
because of the nature of it. Assuming that they would be setting it
Yeah.
Away from everyone else.
My laptop. Maybe I won't go there.
Okay, that's everyone?
No.
No? Who are we waiting for?
There's several people. Yeah.
12.
Oh, okay. Plenty of them then.
Yeah. What do you have on the rest of the day?
Planning for the competition.
Okay.
The email is get to everyone.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Like the whole uni.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, anyone I can reach.
Right. Okay, that's good. I can share it on our campus page.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably receive it anyway, but yeah, that's cool. Oh, right.
When I was waiting earlier.
Yeah, it was really poured earlier, wasn't it? Okay, we're going to get going. So, very pleased to introduce you to Esther. Esther is from the enterprise team here at the university and is going to deliver a session related to what we've been talking about in terms of fundraising, but perhaps a bit more geared on you doing some fundraising potentially whilst you're here at the university or maybe later on in life. You'll also meet Esther next semester on the management and marketing challenges module. So yeah, a nice way to get to know her. But I will pass over.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. So as Andrew said, my name is Esther Hagedish. I'm one of the enterprise program officers at the university, which means that I don't work for a specific faculty. I work across the whole of the institution, and my role is to support our student, staff, and graduates to develop entrepreneurial skills and create and launch new businesses of all kinds, whether that's social enterprises, startups, for-profit businesses, freelancing businesses, anything in between. The university has a dedicated function to support our student, staff, and graduates to do that. And we do that through the enterprise program. And the enterprise program is an extracurricular support that's out there for you, similar to the career service. And we host a range of events and workshops over the course of the academic year. You can also access one-to-one business advice if any of you do have an idea right now, or if you have an idea later on. You can also come back and talk to our business advisor and take advantage of the support up until 7 years after graduation. We also run a range of pre-accelerator boot camps that are 6 weeks program for anyone who has a solid idea that they want to pursue. We have idea and startup competitions with some funding available to test and validate your ideas. And we also provide an incubator and co-working space on campus. So for anyone who is at a stage where they are actively working on a business, we have a co-working space with dedicated support, training opportunities, and funding for those businesses as well. So why am I here today talking to you? What does enterprise have to do with sport? When we talk about enterprise, there's a lot of different definitions, but in very basic terms, we talk about any project or undertaking that creates social, economic, or cultural value. So as I've mentioned, we're not just about creating high growth companies, but it's also about community projects and other types of ventures as well. Some of them might be related to sport. But we can also talk about an enterprise culture in a workplace setting. If you do decide to go into traditional employment opportunities, you don't necessarily have to want to start your own business. Enterprise skills and having an entrepreneurial mindset will enable you to think outside of the box and help you solve problems creatively and tackle tasks better in your workplace setting. So when we talk about enterprise skills, this includes things like intuitive decision making, strategic thinking, creative problem solving, leadership, but it also includes financial and resource management skills. And when we talk about an enterprising person, we talk about, very simply, we talk about someone who is able to spot opportunities, develop solutions to problems, and create new ideas and have the confidence to take them forward. And a key part of any business is being able to do those things, right? So these enterprise skills are crucial employability skills as well as general life skills. And entrepreneurship and innovation are drivers of change. Technological advancements and the need for sustainable and ethical solutions are changing the landscape in all kinds of businesses, including the world of sport. And being able to enhance and maximize the capacity and performance of sporting organizations and the individuals inside are just as important. So understanding your market, customers, demand, pricing, funding, things that you might need to do if you start your own business, but also if you are working for an organization in general. And these are all considered enterprise skills and enterprise competencies. So today, very specifically, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about understanding startup and ongoing costs for a business or a service if you are starting something from scratch, but also about considering the different revenue models that you can bring money into an organization. And we'll also explore some of the other sources of funding if you can't bring enough money in to create a sustainable plan from the go. So a few things to touch on, which I believe you will probably have covered in other contexts as well. But when we talk about income in any context, but especially in a business context, we talk about all the money that comes into the business, right? And if we talk about outgoings, that's everything that you're paying out, all of your costs, etc. And together, your income and outgoings create your cash flow. And I won't go into too much detail about cash flow. I don't know if that's something you cover as part of this module. Great. So we won't go into too much detail about that today, but hopefully I don't have to tell you how important it is to be aware of it and keep on top of it. When we talk about profit, of course, we talk about your income minus outgoings, and that's what will be your profit. So when it comes to understanding your costs, it's one of the key steps, and people often make the mistakes and they start with creating a price for their product. But you can't really create and really understand the pricing for a product or service or a business without really understanding all the costs that are related to it, right? So when we talk about a cost structure in business, which is one of the key steps that anyone will ask you for if you are presenting a business plan or a business case for a new organization, product, or service. When talking about a cost structure, we're talking about all of those outgoings that you need to consider. And this can include things like your startup costs and then your ongoing costs. Any thoughts around what the difference between those two are? It's not a trick question. It's kind of hidden in the name already. So for a business, what would you consider a startup cost versus an ongoing cost?
The initial funding to start up a business, that would be a startup cost. I'm not sure about ongoing costs.
Ongoing sustain the business.
Yeah, exactly. So your startup costs would be some of those initial purchases that you have to make to start your business. This might include things like equipment. It might include things like purchasing, materials and those kinds of things. Versus your ongoing cost will be all the costs that you need to run a business. So that includes things like rent and utilities. It includes things like salaries, administrative costs, marketing costs, all those different costs that you need to keep your business running on a day-to-day basis. You can also consider fixed costs or variable costs. So fixed costs would be costs that don't change regardless of how much product you produce or how much service you provide. So that includes things like rent or salaries, rates, utilities. Whereas your variable costs are costs that you need to consider that might change depending on how much product or service you sell. So for example, if you are manufacturing a product, if the more you order, the cheaper production might be. But at the same time, the more you sell, the more expensive supply chain management and delivery costs might be, right? And the same way for staff members, if your business is growing, depending on how much you sell, you might have to employ more people to be able to fulfill demand. So those are all the variable costs that you can try and predict, but it will be quite hard to get an exact number of, right? So that's around the cost structure, and that should always be the basis of any business plan. Understanding these costs will then enable you to create a pricing strategy and work out how much funding you might need for your product or service so that you can make a business sustainable. So in terms of an example, let's imagine that we have Jane Doe, who is setting up as a personal trainer. What do we think her startup and ongoing costs might be?
The certification course?
Yeah, probably, yeah. So that would probably be a startup cost, getting all the training in place, absolutely. Any other thoughts?
Marketing.
Absolutely, marketing. Now that can also have a slight startup cost at the beginning. If she has to create a website or something like that, it might be a slightly higher initial cost, but then there's probably likely going to be some other ongoing costs to upkeep her website and keep promoting.
Payment to the gym?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Payment to the gym, so some kind of rent agreement where they can work from a specific gym. Anything else? Is there something there? No?
I said raw materials. Raw materials?
Yeah, absolutely. So if she has to buy any equipment or things even like gym wear to look more professional, if she has any products that she's selling as part of that, absolutely. Anything else that she might need if she's setting up as a personal trainer?
Insurance.
Insurance, yes, absolutely. That's something people often forget about. Depending on the type of business you are running, you will have to have some form of insurance. Without that, things can go wrong very quickly. Any other thoughts? For example, if she's commuting to the gym?
Gas bill.
Yeah. Petrol, fuel, her car, whatever, it's a part of her being able to do her job. So absolutely. So I think we've covered most of it. So it includes things like her training, equipment, gym wear. It might also be relevant softwares and applications. She might have to purchase certain accounting software to be able to keep running it. She might have to purchase specific applications that will help her track her clients' progress, whatever that might be. We've mentioned website and marketing costs, but it's also very important to consider her time, utilities, petrol, insurance, rent, all those kinds of things we need to consider as her costs. And it needs to be calculated, so then she can calculate how much she needs to charge to create a profit, right, to be able to make her business sustainable. So then we come to revenue models. Very simply put, your revenue model is what explains how your business will make money. And it outlines all the services and products you're going to sell and how you're going to sell it. And you can use one revenue model or a mix of a few different ones. It's actually recommended to try and use a few different ones to diversify your source of income. But it's something that you have to think about very early on if you're setting up something from scratch. Or even if you are introducing a new feature to a business that you're currently running or to an organization that you're working. If you're trying to expand your services, these are all things you need to consider as well. And it's important so that you can make sure that your business is sustainable, but also that it's scalable. And this will then affect your pricing and sales and marketing strategy, which we'll be discussing next semester. So when it comes to revenue models, are there any thoughts? What are some of the common revenue models that you can think of? about just generally in life, what are some of the common ways in which you pay for products or purchase products?
Cash, card.
Yeah. Slightly differently, what I mean is, what are the kind of ways in which a business would charge you? So, for example, one example would be a transactional payment and transactional revenue where you make a one-off purchase. You pay for a product and that's it. What are some other potential ways?
Monthly installments.
Yeah, monthly installments, that's an option as well. It could be that you are paying off something in installments, but it can also be things like subscription. So if you're paying for something, a monthly fee. Any other potential ways to generate income for different products or services?
Buying merchandise products. Merchandising products. Merchandise.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an option that's more to do with your kind of business model rather than revenue. So for your merchandising product, people would pay on a transactional basis. They would buy it once and then they own it. What are some other ways to generate money from?
Discounts on larger period of time subscription. Like how trying to make sure 12-month and 6-month subscription plans are.
Yeah, that's a good example, absolutely. But that also kind of falls under the subscription base. That's fine. So some of the most common ones, we've kind of touched base on the transactional part where you pay for a product, you buy it, and that's it. Service-based revenue model is another option where people are paying you for specific services completed, right? So, for example, for a personal trainer, it would be a service-based revenue model, right? Depending on the type of service she offers, you would pay a certain price for certain packages. Same with kind of freelance coaching. People might pay you different amounts for different coaching packages, right? Advertising is another good way of generating revenue, especially in a sports setting. It tends to be quite a common one. So having an advertising space in your stadiums, having advertising on your website. If you think about it, applications that you download quite often, the phone application might be free, but you get those ads in between, and companies pay for different companies to have those ads in. And that's a way to generate revenue for your service or business. Subscription-based model is another option that we touched on, and it's quite a common model these days. And a kind of subcategory of that is the freemium model. Has anyone heard about the freemium model before?
Free trials, and then which leads to subsequent charge like subscription.
Yeah. So if you are looking at freemium, instead of having a free period as the kind of promotional period, when you talk about freemium, you talk about the version where there's the basic version of a service that is free, and then you have to pay to unlock certain features of a product, right? With a service-based business as well, you can offer a free group coaching session to people. But if they want one-on-one coaching, which is where the best value comes in from, that's a service that they have to pay for. So that's quite a common one these days, especially with a lot of digital products or service-based products as well. Licensing is another option. That one comes in most of the time if you own some intellectual property or a specific training program, for example, that you've developed. Anything that you've developed and you're the only person who knows how to deliver or how to develop. And a way to make money out of that, if you don't have the time or capacity to develop that yourself, or if you do develop it and deliver it, but you'd like to make more money and increase the impact, you can license your intellectual property off to other companies, right? So that means that they are basically paying for the right to use the material, the training program, whatever it is that you developed. They can use it to sell their own products, to make their own products better, to deliver what you've developed. That's another way to generate income off of your intellectual property. And then the last example I have here is the kind of affiliate or commission based, which is quite common these days in the digital space and in the influencer space, where you would promote a product, and if people buy that product through the link that you're promoting, you would get a small commission. This can also be applied for bigger businesses. So for example, if you are, let's say, selling a very specific piece of technology related to golf, let's say, and on your website or as you're selling your product, you can suggest to people other complementary products by other businesses. And if they purchase it through the link that you provide, you get a little commission or kind of a part of that sales, right? So these are some of the most kind of common revenue models for a business, whether that's product-based or service-based. That can be the same for sports organizations as well. Most often it will be transactional or the kind of advertising or a combination of a few of those. But the different revenue models and which one is the right one for you will depend on a few different things, right? So to decide which revenue model is the best option for your business or sports organization, firstly, you'll need to think about who are your customers, whether you're selling a service or product direct to customers or if you're engaging with other businesses, or maybe both. It's also important to understand how much your customers are willing to pay. And that should always influence how much you are charging. You might have an amazing idea, amazing business, but if you need to charge to be able to make profit, if you need to charge significantly more than what people are willing to pay, then you might need to think about some alternatives. Because if your target audience is not willing to pay the amount it costs you to develop a product or deliver a service, then you might have some discrepancies there and you might struggle to generate the income. It's also suggested to try and test your revenue model early on a small scale and get some feedback. The only way to find out whether customers are willing to pay for what you're offering is if you test it out, right? And you need to be prepared to change your assumptions. Just because you think that you would be willing to pay, let's say, £100 for a one-to-one coaching session, it doesn't mean that everyone else around you is also willing to pay that. Just because you have a group in Stirling who's willing to pay a certain amount, it doesn't mean that another group in Glasgow is willing to pay the same amount. So it's important to gather that feedback. And again, I'm sure you'll be discussing it quite a lot next semester. But these aspects of running a business all connect with each other. You can't do one without the other. And each revenue model will have its pros and cons. And as I've said, it will very much depend on the specific case of the business that you are looking at, the different model, your customers, etc. And then when it comes to pricing your product or service, you need to think again about a few different things. Firstly, doing your cash flow and really understanding your costs is the crucial first step to then help you determine your pricing, as I've mentioned. It's also important to think about profit margins. If you're only going to make a couple % profit on a certain service or product, that might not be sustainable on the long term. If you're putting a lot of work and resources into a certain business and you're only making enough profit to scrape by, then you might need to think about some other options and rethinking your business model so that you can make it really sustainable and grow it further. You cannot sell a product or service if it won't make profit, right? So as I said, consider your costs, but also consider your own time. It's something that people often forget when they start a new business or start to run their own organization or start to do consultancy work or freelance work. Think about how much your time is worth. If you are delivering a service that takes you 8 hours to prepare, but you're only getting paid for the 1 hour of delivery, then again, you might need to rethink your options. And think about that as well. If you, let's say you go out to do a coaching business out there, right? Remember not to only cost that 1 hour or 2 hours that you're out there. Think about that time that it takes you to prepare. That's all time that you're taking away from other activities that you could be doing, right? The same if you are having to travel somewhere to deliver a service, or if you are having to deliver product somewhere. Think about how much that takes. If it takes you 2 hours to travel somewhere, and again, you're only getting paid for another hour's worth of work, then you're losing some of your time that you could be out there delivering things. So those are all things that you should be considering as part of your costs as well. And as I've mentioned, consider what people are willing to pay and base your pricing off of that. It's also helpful to look at a comparison in the marketplace. What are similar people charging for similar activities? What is a similar business charging for a similar product? Cheaper also isn't always the better. It's a common misconception. People go, oh, I'm going to charge just a little less than the average, and then everyone will choose me. But in reality, if you're the cheapest option, people are actually more likely to question your quality. If you're the cheapest, is that really the best option? Why are you that cheap? And even though your quality might be way better, you've really underpriced yourself to attract customers, but it might actually have a diverse effect. So ideally, you want to find a price that meets what you need and is somewhere also in the average of the marketplace. Now, if you're delivering something very exceptional that, for example, only you can deliver or develop, if you have some special know-how, some special training, then you might be able to charge a kind of premium price that qualification might allow you, right? So again, your pricing will change and depend on a few different things. Now, when it comes to then taking this all into reality and starting up, it's a common misconception, again, that you need to first raise a whole bunch of money to start a business or a product. When in reality, depending on the kind of business you're operating, you might not need a huge pot of money to start up from. So you want to consider whether you can actually start trading without any funding. Is there anything you can start developing or delivering without a huge pot of funding? Consider how much you need for an MVP, a minimally viable product. This can also mean a kind of scaled down version of a service that you are providing. But think about how much do you need to start delivering the kind of bare minimum of what you can deliver. And think about whether that's enough to start generating income and profit that you can then put into to further develop your business.
MVP?
MVP means minimally viable product.
Okay.
So that's the kind of minimum working version of a product or a service of whatever you're developing. And then if you are looking at all of this and you find that actually there is a big funding gap and there is no way for you to start developing your product or service without funding, then you can look at some of those options that are out there for you. So the first one, especially in sports, would be considering sponsorship or partnership opportunities, right? So that would be working with other businesses who can provide either financial or material support in exchange for exposure, right? And there's a few different ways you can think about financial sponsorship, where they might offer you direct funding for certain events, for projects, for athletes. But it can also mean in-kind sponsorship. It can be by providing products or services for you free that will enable you to then deliver and develop what you need to do. And then there's also the media sponsorship, where they would support you in exchange for advertising rights on your website, right? And then the partnership opportunity would be more of a long-term collaboration with another business, whether that's between sports organizations and brands or sports businesses. And that would be about creating mutual value and mutual benefit. So if you are creating a partnership, then it's more of a longer-term thing, and your partners might expect to be able to influence the strategic decisions of your business. On a sponsorship basis, it can be more on the shorter term, and they wouldn't normally expect to have a strategic say in your business. The next option that people often forget about these days are business loans. Now, these are still an option. There's a few different ways to go about it. There's your usual bank loans. There's also what we call development stage loans that are specifically designed for startup businesses and small businesses to help them develop and grow. There's specific startup financing through the FSC Group or the British Business Bank as well. And there's also dedicated startup finance, which focuses on new businesses and are intended to support small businesses that have potential to be to grow and become scalable businesses. Now, they are challenging to secure as a small business. If it's just yourself as a founder, it can be quite challenging to secure these, and quite often you might have to put down a personal guarantee against a loan. But depending on the business or product or service you are developing, it might be the best option for you, and it might be fine. And these are the things where you would discuss it with your business advisor, where you would reach out to programs like us for support to help you determine whether the kind of risk you're taking on with taking a loan on is actually worth in comparison to your business. Another option to consider is grants. Now, grants normally don't have to be repaid, but quite often they also only cover parts of a project cost, for example, 50%. And some of them might expect you to be able to match fund the amount that they are offering for you. Another key thing to keep in mind with grants, although it is great that you just get that pot of money, quite often it's actually paid retrospectively. So you have to be able to pay for things by yourself first, purchase things, and then claim that money back, rather than just being given a huge pot of money to go out and spend there. When it comes to grants, quite often it's more about claiming back that money and proving that you've spent it on the relevant things. Now, the application processes vary quite a bit, but 99% of the time they will very much want to know about your cost structure and revenue model and marketing plans and such. They want to make sure that they are not just giving away money for anything. They want to make sure that you can create sustainable, financially sustainable businesses. And most often they are looking for outcomes and impact. So you have to be able to outline what the impact of this funding would be and what are you going to use it for. So grants tend to be for specific purposes, or you have to say in advance what you will be spending it on and how that will impact not just your business, but quite often it's also about how it will impact the local communities. Are you going to be able to develop the region? Are you going to be able to offer jobs, make your business more sustainable and environmentally friendly through these grants? Especially these days, a lot of funding is about helping businesses become reach net zero and become more environmentally friendly and more responsible. There's a full few different ways. Some of the most common ones, especially in Scotland, are Business Gateway or Scottish Enterprise, that are very specifically designed for small businesses. Local councils like Stirling Council quite often offers small grants of money for local businesses and local projects. First Sport is an organisation in Scotland specifically designed to support social enterprises with funding. So that one is all about supporting businesses to make a social impact and address some kind of societal issue. But you also have funds like Innovate UK and UK area funding that is more about the kind of research based ideas as well. Another option is things like competitions and accelerators. Now, these will often offer both training and additional support and funding opportunities. And the amounts that they offer can vary anywhere from £1,000 up to the £100,000 range. And most of these also tend to be equity-free seed funding. Now, not all, but most. So that means that the money that you get, you can spend it on developing your business. You don't have to pay it back, and the funding body also won't take any part of your business. They won't take equity of your business. Now, as I've said, it's not always the case. So if you are looking to apply for a competition or a funding call, always double check the kind of terms and conditions to make sure that you can retain the rights to all intellectual property that you are creating and that they are not looking to take part of your business. Some of the most common ones, and this is just a selection from Scotland and the UK, include things like Scottish Edge. Scottish Edge is Scotland's startup and SME, small medium enterprise funding competition, and they have different categories all the way from idea stage to specific and growing businesses, and the amounts vary from £10,000 to £100,000. And they run a competition twice every single year. And anyone with an idea can apply at the very early stages as well. There's things like the RBS Accelerator or the Accelerate Her program, Barclays Eagle Labs, Santander. A lot of banks run their own business support accelerator programs where they provide training and some funding for a small cohort of promising ideas. There's also things like Converge that I will talk about a minute as well, because it's actually currently open for applications. They are specifically for university-based ideas and small businesses. And again, they provide equity-free seed funding from £5,000 to £50,000. So if you do have an idea, or if you go out there and end up with an idea a few years down the line, these are some of the options that you can consider to take that forward. Investment is, of course, another common way to kind of raise funds. And you can use and look for investment either through individual investors that are often called angel investors or through syndicates. So angel investors would normally invest their own money in individuals, whereas syndicates tend to pool their money together and invest as a syndicate. Now, it's important to consider whether investment is actually right for you. It's another common misconception for people who decide to start businesses, that I'm just going to go for investment and get some money in. But actually, quite often, investment might not be the right source of kind of funding for you. You might not even need investment if you are able to start generating income and profits through other ways and use that to grow your business. Most often than not, with investment, you're going to have to give away a part of your business to your investor. So it's important to consider whether it's more important for you to secure some funding or whether you want to retain all rights and overall ownership of your idea or business. There are a few different syndicates in Scotland. These are just a few examples. You've got Angel Capital Scotland. You've also got places like Mint Ventures, for example. Mint Ventures is led by one of our entrepreneurs in residence at Stirling, actually. And they specifically focus on investing in female-led businesses. But similarly, there are syndicates that specifically focus on investing in businesses led by minority groups and equity deserving groups. So there are a few different potential investment syndicates to look at if you are looking to secure investment. I also have a bit of a breakdown here to give you an idea of the kind of things that people are and businesses, syndicates are investing these days. Sport is up there. You'll be good to see, albeit a fairly small amount. But things like energy, fintech, health is up there, and things like transportation, legal options. So there's a lot of different things. If you are looking for investment, it's also important to find the right investor for you. You don't want to jump in bed with the first investment that comes across from you. Making sure that the people that are investing in your business, they will then have a say in your business. They will want you to report to them, and they will have kind of some strategic oversight and influence over your business. So it's very important to make sure that you're not just taking any money from anyone, but you really consider who are the people that you want to work with, who are the people you want to have associated with your business as well. So those are some of the key things to consider. Crowdfunding is another option. It's becoming less and less common in the kind of startup and business world, but it's still out there. There's been some successful examples over the last few years of crowdfunding, and there's a whole different, this is just one selection of some of the websites that you can use. But for example, you can look at places like Brewdog, who started off with a really good crowdfunding campaign. And what they've done is they've given away shares in exchange for the funding they received. And they've been able to create a kind of small public investment group and some loyal customers. Another example is Uni, which is kind of this home pizza oven company. I don't know if anyone heard about them. They are quite successful. They've also started with crowdfunding, but they've offered rewards to people who've invested in them at the beginning. So they've offered early discounted access to their first customers, to those who have supported them at the beginning through crowdfunding. And then, of course, there's the donation-based, and people often think, oh, I'm just going to put it out there and people will donate money because it's a great idea and people will want to see it. But actually, it's becoming a very saturated market. There's crowdfunding campaigns all over the place for all kinds of different reasons. And there's a lot of distrust around crowdfunding as well these days. Sometimes you hear those very bad examples where people misappropriated the funding that they raised, or they were dishonest. So you have to be cautious if you are using crowdfunding to make sure that you can really communicate the impact if you are relying on the donation-based one. But if you are looking at offering rewards or shares, then you have to make sure that you can follow through those promises. Because you don't want to have people who've provided all this funding for you, and if nothing comes of your business, then essentially you've taken their money without being able to offer those rewards or shares, and they've lost that money. So you have to be careful and cautious. It's still an option and it still works for some, but you need to consider if it is the right option for your business project or product as well. So for the next kind of example, before we move on actually, are there any questions? Is it all clear? Different bits? Yeah, okay. So I have a few examples here to explore costs, revenue models, and funding options. So we can maybe take 10-15 minutes if you guys wanted to divide into, let's say, 4 groups. Yourselves, yeah? 3 people in each group, something like that?
Yeah.
Pairs?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Do you want to do pairs?
Yeah, let's do it in pairs. That
so
might
if
be.
you want to split into pairs and pick one of the 5 on the screen.
So have a look at the 5 examples. Pick the one that you like the most, and try and think about what is their cost structure. What are some of the key costs that they need to consider? What are potential revenue models for them to generate income? And what are some of the funding options that you would consider if it was you starting one of these? Can take 10-15 minutes. Stunned everyone into silence.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can choose. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Which one are you going to choose?
Sports podcast.
Podcast.
I'm not sure on this.
Guys, okay? So, yeah, know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know about this side or this? You know which group do you want? This side or this side?
Okay.
Let's do somebody.
You guys all good? This one, which one you choose? Like 2 minutes. Then the fifth one. Yeah. Okay. You guys, you put this up.
First, sport podcast. Then we have 2 with cost structure, revenue model, funding options. These people be beautiful.
I will pay for the podcast.
Local football is actually much more easy. Easy to get grants for.
When you start.
Absolutely.
Start. Fundraising and sports.
Yeah, you want to say Elon Musk.
Alex, Bill Gates.
Still safe. I don't think he's done anything too controversial.
Do you remember any of the revenue model? The subscription was there.
Well, it's a tough one because obviously they.
I mean, I've got shares. So,
Well,
yeah, but he's just a bit of a dick, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the annoying thing. It's how they've built the business.
Yeah.
It's such a good example. They've done a lot of questionable things with it.
Yeah.
But how they got there is actually really good and inspiring. Example.
Listen, I used to really like the job, but
The chef is actually not even that horrible.
First of all, you know, start.
hasn't stepped away.
Yeah, I think he still has shares in the beginning.
I don't think they have done like a big. Normally you do the whole.
Yeah, true.
He stepped away. We're fixing everything. I've not seen anything
Yeah, that's true.
along those lines, but
That's true. I just see him a lot on LinkedIn. Yeah, no, I have shares in them. Get discounted as well. I'm sure it's good.
nice. We all working on it together. Yeah.
What do you think of equipment like just like microwave, there's more microphone
You think about
for the post equipment? Oh, sorry, for post structure. So,
means for example, let's say you buy your rent building that's kind of big, right? But then what are some of the other costs associated with it? Sorry? If you are renting it, so either you rent or you buy it. Can you things like
yeah, putting in a cost
yeah, absolutely. Things like maintenance work. Instead of maintenance, you need to get
okay.
think about bringing your equipment in. Yeah, when you're thinking about these costs, try and break them down a little bit more, and not just
Because when you
other than
for sponsorship from
you might
while in practice like sponsorship as well.
yeah, like cleaning.
No revenue model, how are we going to get sponsorship?
Yeah.
Someone
No.
those kinds of things.
You get them sponsorships. Also,
Which example did we pick here?
the first one, local football.
Are you working on it all together or separately?
No, we are.
You're doing it. Okay. So, what are some of the costs you've identified?
Mainly expanding about the ads for also revenue. So like upgrading facilities for ads. Gyms, like haven't thought about it fully, but yeah, like player development would need like structure as I mentioned, even mental one-to-one sessions, personal design, improving existing equipment. Okay. So equipment costs. Is equipment included? All of it. Yeah. Okay. What else?
If you're expanding, that can mean a few different things, right? You might need to buy more land, potentially.
Training grounds.
Or training grounds, yeah. It can include things like maintenance costs, building costs. In the meantime, if you are, let's say, expanding your current facilities, do you have to rent another place for your players to be able to train while an expansion is taking place? You might also want to think about things like permits. That might be another cost that you have to think about. Then, as you said, things like equipment to bring in, etc.
We can look for a multi-purpose stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a multi-purpose stadium. They host many rugby matches.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can make it take especially in a way where yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. When it comes to reference, how can you bring in money?
And we can organize some trade. So, some jerseys, sponsorships.
Yeah, sponsorships.
For season ticket holders.
Yeah, absolutely. Advertisement, absolutely. Yeah. So have a think. Is that something that you're likely to need a big fund to be able to carry it out?
The funding from promoting activities.
What do you think?
In terms of a more active sterling, you can get
Potentially.
from the government. Because Scotland wants to promote more
because if you have
so
like
you could look at
famous
government
podcasts,
grants.
so
You can also look at things like investment
there are
by
many
your partners or your
people living
sponsors.
fast
If they are buying
because
advertising
the more
space
you
in a new
have,
facility, then you can kind of have
followers,
them pay
the
for
more
that
you will earn
at the beginning outright, so that
especially
you can
from
use that for things. But
or maybe for example like in your job you are the job also for podcast as well.
what are we doing over here?
Yeah. For crowd, how about we believe that crowd for the stadium renovation financing for players as well as recruiting a new coach of the performance of and marketing like in terms of promotion in the social media which attracts fan engagement and investing in performance tracking tools which will be the betterment for the players so that we could get the good results video analysis and all that kind of stuff which attracts fans and increasing the wages of the players and the staff so that they can get a motivation to work more efficiently and the revenue we can generate revenue from ticket sales as well as hospitality in terms of like arranging a store on the match days, like food and beverage stores in which the fans and selling out the club merchandises on the match days, as well as trying to get the partnership with the local shops in which we can sell our merchandise. Yep. And if we are owning our ground by our own, we can rent the ground for the other clubs to train or like other events, which can generate revenue.
That's a really good example. Yeah.
And funding option mainly we can see is like we can organize a charity matches, which try to promote diversity, inclusion.
So you mean charity match in terms of you would use funding from that to pay for these, or would you be giving that money away to someone else?
Yeah, we'll be giving the money away.
Exploring options of funding.
No.
Okay. Sponsorship comes in.
That is a great example, but if you're thinking about expanding your facilities and improving your offer. Okay.
Part of them when you chat like channel the expansion as well.
Actually, we can engage more fans. Like if you are doing the charity match, fans obviously come to watch the match. Like if some sort of like a big names are playing there. So in that way, like if you are engaging more with the social society, like we can make a good fan building more ticket sales. And we could obviously look for the government grants if possible, and like search for the private investments.
If you're thinking about the expend part, so kind of physical element of it, you thought about costs of that one?
Like physical element mainly comes with the players mainly.
So then when you say like the stadium renovation extension, try and break that down a little bit more. So
Increasing the capacity of the.
What I mean is think about what are the cost implications of that.
Like
if that makes sense. So what does that mean? What will you actually need to spend money on? How will you find the money?
How about if we like sport brand,
Which example would be useful here? So what are the kind of costs that you've identified?
It's part of the fixed cost, and getting the mic stand. So for let's say like expansion in terms of the variable, you have already but if we're expanding further, rent or buy more then the percentage of permit costs and maintenance costs further cost like crowdfunding, maybe doing their development something like trainers, revenue model, advertising terms of sponsorship on tickets, and then club member subscriptions for season ticket holding,
When it comes to starting
and advertising and to have spaces where
unless you're someone who's already
people can add
famous or
spaces
established or something, it might be hard to get a sponsorship as a kind of funding option from the beginning to start. So it might come more of a revenue model where you can get ongoing sponsors for specific episodes, etc. That is not to say if you're managing an NBA player who is already established and you're helping them set up, you might be able to find a sponsor from the get-go. It will just depend on self-investment is also a very good point,
I mean, if you were perhaps selling some shares, you might raise some capital by selling
when
some
you
shares.
think about the under costs as well, if this is something that's going to be partially your income or your main income, think about your own costs. I don't see salary or anything like that for yourself, which is something that people often forget about.
So I don't know when we started sports. I was like, we'll initially start from zero. So I think it would part where we divide this and this is legit.
Again, it's also think about, are you going to be doing all the editing yourself? Do you maybe have to pay for someone to edit it for you?
Maybe initially we consider doing ourselves and then it's like expand as we grow bigger than that.
But those are some of the other costs to consider. You might also want to consider things like the software costs.
Right.
You have the equipment or the hardware, but you might need some.
Sorry, I told you.
There are no, right or wrong answers. It's just an exercise to help you understand the variety of things that you really need to
I kind of ignored the software part because you can upload it into YouTube, so that's basically a free.
So you're just gonna what are you going to use to edit it?
They're gonna pay you.
Yeah.
It's just, again, it's not getting graded. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just really to help you understand the variety of things that you can have to think about.
Like I said, I did go with everything started with a freemium and then launched subs and ads. So initially we were upload it and then let the audience listen to it. So that's right. They can start the subscription. Obviously, more like a progressive approach. The business is yeah, we just put that. Sorry.
And think about things as well, like a potential editor or yourself, some salary, those kinds of things.
Among the team.
Yeah.
So video editors. What would they get? Yeah.
Sorry,
what about the okay? Are you together? They will go for time.
I'll make this ball.
I think the
Because you're working.
You're gonna give up some ownership to the club, maybe? Yeah, sell some of the products to get some capital up front.
Yeah, but I'm not really work for the any programs in terms of expansion.
It looks like everyone more or less has a good idea. Are we all happy to quickly share around with the rest of the group? Yeah? Is there a brave duo, trio who wants to start?
Ali always wants to start.
Yeah.
Ali.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Come on,
Go ahead.
dude. Come on, Ali.
I've done everything for you, bro.
Okay, we choose a number 4 for launching sports podcast. So for the cost structure, cost structure, first of all, we choose equipment. So we have to find a lights, microphone, and holder camera extra. And the second thing is the guest invitations, more like variable cost. For the third,
Wait.
Where?
So sorry. Just read on this part. Most
raw material. Yeah.
Don't read the part after the dash.
Yeah. For the promotion through influencer and the fourth thing, voice video editor software. That's interesting. It's okay. The for salary for the team. For the revenue models, we have here a sponsorship, subscribes, and free months and others. For the funding options, software investments,
self-investment.
Self-investments and crowdfunding, investments and sponsorship. That's for Lunch and Sports podcast. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. Any thoughts or questions? Any other costs that you might think of for a sports podcast? Or I think the guys covered it all pretty well. Okay, how about the other side of the table?
So again, we went with local football club expansion.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So cost structure, as we discussed earlier, would be if expanding facilities, basically upgrading on the already existing equipment, and if we have plans to get a new training pitch for the players to practice on, so then either we'll have to rent it or buy new motor. So that would involve permit costs, as you mentioned earlier, and then regarding player development, we'll have to hire personal trainers as well, and be that gyms. So that's for the physical and mental aspect. So then there'd be salaries for that, like more salaries from in. So that would, we would need money in that way. Then revenue models. What did we discuss? Revenue models. So that was like through the kits we'd get sponsorships. So and what else? And giving a season ticket holders to club members, we can sell them tickets so they can watch matches for the whole season. And yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, like giving out some space for people, so they would pay to use the space, sort of like advertising, renting the area. And funding options like from the public one, since football promotes activity, like we could get funding from Sports Scotland, like government funding, because it's promoting more activity and making people more physically fit potentially that way. If you wanted private funding, then we'd have to uh, sell equity to get.
Okay. Yes. Over to you, Faye. You've also picked the same example. Any other costs that you've identified or some other revenue models?
Yeah, insurance will be a cost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Insurance. Never forget about insurance.
Yeah. Like as I said, like signing new players if the players weren't that good, and also recruiting a new coach. Like the experienced one will be having more wages.
Any other revenue models that you've identified that's different from the other two?
Yeah.
So, okay, this is a bit unique for in terms of as a semi-professional clubs, we want to be able to develop our players to high standards and sell them to professional level clubs and make profits. So we pay like attention to our development because that's a potential source of revenue.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting example. Cool. What are some of the funding options? What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, mainly we look at the funding option from the private investments as well as the bank loans we can rely upon. Also, like if we are developing an academy or grassroots, we can take the membership of the like players and use it if we have enough savings for the expansion.
Okay. What about the last group? What was your which example did you pick? What did you identify?
It's like he's the owner, so.
So regarding the cost structure, like we need to like we have discussed the location cost, right? The renovation of the building, like if we're opening a new gym, we need to renovate all things and licensing permits.
Safety equipment.
Yeah, safety equipment as well.
The taxes we have to pay. And
Gym trainers.
Gym trainers, gym equipment, and the marketing cost for the gym. And the, so it's a high performance gym, so there will be some medical staffs for that. And utilities costs and the insurance costs. Yeah, that's all about the cost structure. And for the revenue models, memberships and subscriptions. So there will be some specific classes for like
merchandising of gym press like gloves, bottle.
Yeah. And there will be some online coaching, medical treatments available, and nutritional products, wellness programs, and so it's and there will be an app for the gym where we give out the fitness tips and everything.
Physiotherapy.
Yeah.
Does that come under your revenue or does that come under your costs?
I think it's really, yeah, when people can like access the classes while paying a fee and everything.
Okay, so you'll charge something for it.
Yeah.
But for you to create the app to
Yeah.
keep it running,
Yeah.
that will
That'll
also
be-
have costs associated. So something to keep in mind if they are only paying a couple pounds extra for the app. How are you going to fund it to run?
And for the funding, we'll be looking for some loans and grants from the government, and we'll be looking for support from the community for crowdfunding, and also looking for partnerships,
Personal
investors,
savings.
and also if there is enough money with the owner, personal savings.
For the crowdfunding, a few of you mentioned it. Which kind of crowdfunding options are you choosing? Donation based? Are you giving away rewards or shares?
Shares.
Shares, yeah.
Yeah, talked about shares.
Present?
Yeah,
Is it
mainly
maybe
we
more
look for
six
partnerships.
to give them free access to the gym for a year or so
Yeah,
or
like
something?
a family plan or annual plan. Yeah.
Okay. You're talking about a gym as well. You've put paying for the PTs and personal trainers under costs. But actually, if you also have people who pay you to rent space to be able to train there, that's also a potential revenue option. What about the other people who mentioned crowdfunding? Which crowdfunding options are you considering? What do people get out of it?
Free podcast. They get to listen to free podcast for 1 week or 2 weeks. Maybe a month.
Could they do any other like offers for their listeners, like special Q&A sessions with the listeners?
Yeah, we can have an interactive session. We can put up a live session, and then we can have an interactive. They can ask the question, and we can give out answers. Yeah, so I think they would get a high preference when we invite some ex professional players or anyone. Yeah, so they can get exclusive content as well sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, crowdfunding is an option, but always think about what do people get out of donating money to you. For a local football club, you can kind of explain the social benefit of it, maybe space for their kids to train, that kind of thing. For a podcast, you might be harder to convince people to donate you money. So always, when you're thinking about, well, really any of the types of funding, think about what do people get out of funding your idea. What can you give back? How will they get a return on their investment? Whether that is monetary or in a social or cultural value, but what is going to be the impact? Why should they support you over, I don't know, somewhere else out there starting a different podcast or another community project doing something else? So always think about what is the value you bring to people, and how can you sell that to them, so to say. But perfect. I've got one last slide to kind of wrap up things. So some of the key things, as I've mentioned, be ready to challenge your assumptions and change. Just because you think what you've put down there is going to work doesn't mean that it will. So always do your research, speak to people, and test your ideas. Also, if you are looking to start business, service, consultancy, freelance, whatever that might be, always set up a business bank account. You don't want to start raising funds on your personal account. You don't want to start generating income onto your personal bank account. It's good practice to set up a separate business bank account. And in Scotland and the UK, it's fairly easy as well. Different countries might have different regulations. Get relevant insurance, always key thing. Never forget about that. Speak to an accountant. Get help if you're not sure about what is happening. Consider finance systems if you are studying to raise money, if you are looking to develop a solution. You might need to start saving certain financial documents. You need to start keeping certain records. Having an easy system to use that can be very helpful. Check your bank account regularly. As I've said, it's important. Know how much money is coming in and out of your business on a daily basis so you can stay on top of it. Just to very quickly tell you about something we have coming up. I've mentioned pre-accelerator programs and competitions, a good way to test ideas. The university and the enterprise program is about to launch this morning at 9 a.m. So have already launched applications for our pre-accelerator program, which will run over the course of May and early June. And it's a 6-week program helping anyone who has an idea explore the idea and turn it into a viable business plan. And for students and graduates, there's also up to £2,000 of funding up for grabs to test those ideas. As I've said, it's a good example of equity-free seed funding. So that's £2,000 for you to test the idea. We don't take any part of it. You don't have to pay it back. So if there's anyone in the room who has an idea, or if you know someone who has an idea, you can scan the QR code. You'll also have the slides, which has the link as well. I've also mentioned, I'm missing a slide here. Well, I'll put that back in. It's on my laptop. I don't know where it's gone on that one. We also have Converge in Scotland, as I mentioned, which is for ideas based in higher education in Scotland. Their applications are open until the 2nd of April. Similarly, they have early idea stage categories, and funding is from £5,000 to £10,000 for idea stage, early stage ideas, for business ideas. So if anyone's interested in that, when you get the slides, you'll have the QR code, but you can also reach out to us. Come speak to us at any point if you have an idea, if you want to just explore your options. And just remember, even if you have an idea 5 years down the line, you can still come back to us and get support with it. So that's everything from me today. If I don't see you before, I'll see you next semester.
Thank you. Just quickly, anybody interested in, got their own ideas that they'd be interested in expanding at some point? Or you're too busy with all your assignments? On that, don't forget your second assignment is due a week today, 12 o'clock. Okay, we have our last session tomorrow. Next Thursday at 9 till 12. So it'll be a bit more relaxed. Okay, you'll chance to unwind a wee bit. But yeah, do get in touch, as Esther says, if you have any ideas or any business ideas you want to explore further. All right, thanks all. See you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.